bring up the agenda. We have Benny listening in, and I'll see. I changed something in.
What you looking for, Ola?
I'm trying to share in Zoom, and I changed something in the UI.
Mm.
Do you see something?
Yes.
Good. So, since we're recording now, welcome everyone. Steve and I are leading this, and my webcam is up there, so I need to move the Zoom. Shall we take an after summer brief introduction, since we also have new members coming in? Hi, Chris.
Hello, how are you doing?
We're doing just fine. Do you see that I'm using your koala picture everywhere?
Well, I named the group, so it's only fitting I give the logo, so I'm glad.
That was awesome, by the way.
Yeah. So let's start the introduction with you, Chris, since I noticed you. Who are you, briefly?
My name's Christopher Gates. I have been creating medical equipment for 52 years. I have been threat modeling for well over 15 of medical device systems. I try to be an evangelist for good cybersecurity practices in my industry. So unfortunately, you see me in far too many working groups and presentations and shows and those kind of things. So I'm every place. So, so that's me.
Okay, Piotr.
So my name is Piotr Karwasz. I'm working full-time on the Log4j project, which is downstream of a downstream dependency of most applications. So I'm mostly interested how insights from projects can propagate up until the end user.
Yeah, Pavel.
I'm building startup, which is actually closely aligned with what we're trying to do here in T. Essentially managing releases and their metadata. Other than that, I do a lot of consulting, but mostly in DevOps field.
Yeah. And in this group, you started working on the open API specification, which will
exactly
hopefully have some time to cover. Mark Simmons, welcome.
Hi, sorry, I was just desperately trying to unmute my microphone there. Yeah, hi, I'm Mark Simons. I've been involved with sort of CycloneDX and related projects for several years now. And I'm not a developer, but I hope that I've got insights to provide.
Welcome. Gary.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. So Gary O'Neill, I'm actually here on behalf of the SPDX community. Ollie was kind enough to invite participation from us. So I've been working on SPDX since almost the very beginning, so more than a dozen years. And my day job, I do consulting, helping companies figure out what's in their software.
That's an interesting task to find out. Mitch.
Hey, there we go. Hey, good morning, guys. How are you? So I guess I am the resident koala here. I am a longtime developer, short-time security salesperson, I guess, representative, expert, advisor, consultant, whatever you want to call it. It kind of meshes together. I will profess that I had no idea the depth and the breadth of application security throughout all my years writing code. I have found a insatiable hunger and desire to further efforts in this area, as I think it is one of the most critical things we have ahead of us. And I hope that my experience, technical or whatnot, can help shape something productive to help the future generation.
Cool, great. Can you add your full name to the chat or somewhere so I can,
yeah,
or to the document?
I'm having some Zoom issues here, but I'll update that. Not a problem.
Okay. You see it on the screen that I'm trying to capture
I've got you. Yeah.
the participants as we
put that-
speak. Okay, Benny, you said you're listening in.
Yes. Benji, hey, so I'm the CTO of a startup called Zeal, and we help companies find end-of-life software in their stack. And I'm also working on a related spec called Common Lifecycle Enumeration, which is kind of will potentially be using Transparency Exchange API to transmit data about end of life and software events. So
yeah, we kind of included reference to that in the T index, but that's a separate working group and document right now that Steve is trying to kickstart.
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Welcome all. I have a shameless plug. I'm organizing a conference on all this stuff in Stockholm in September, and Piotr is one of the speakers. If you want to find out more, go to that URL. It's organized in cooperation with OpenSSF, Eclipse, and a few other organizations. Unfortunately, not OWASP, but that's something I can speak with Steve about later on. We have some good news from ECMA TC54. Steve, do you want to say something about the state of standardization?
Yeah, so late June, CycloneDX was ratified as an international ECMA standard. So it's been elevated at the same kind of level as like JavaScript and JSON, for example. So that was a huge win. So it was, you know, the first, I think, of many efforts that are going to come from TC54. CycloneDX being just one of them. We're also working on many others. Obviously, the Transparency Exchange being one of them. So, yeah, great news.
Absolutely. And this working group, as we discussed a bit in the start, is part of that standardization effort. So our output will become an ECMA standard within TC54. Another group that's about to start is the package URL working group, which is really important now when the MVD and CP system is slowly fading away. So we're trying to get that going as well as another task group within TC54. The last meeting we started discussing how to get vendors and projects on board and get them informed about what we're doing. I jokingly call that KoalaCon, but try to invite everyone in OWASP and SPDX and other communities, OpenSSF, to an open meeting and talk about what we're doing. I started, based on our discussion, a document that I hope you have access to. If not, just tell me. But we do need to get the implementers aboard and start a discussion. Even if they don't have time to participate in the work, we need them to be aware. I was at OWASP AppSec Lisbon, and I talked with a lot of the exhibitors, and they were all very interested. Hi, Jotam. Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
So we do need to have an open meeting to inform people about what's going. I also see some iPhone doctor in the corner of Zoom here. Who's behind that? Hello.
It's Dimitri Raidman from Site.
Hi, can you add your name to the chat so I can add you to the participant list? Thank you.
I'll do it. Thank you.
Welcome, Dimitri.
Thank you.
So the format for this meeting we suggested was a Zoom meeting using the OWASP platform. Steve was going to look into that, and a recording to publish to YouTube like we always do. I think it'll be around 1.5 hours. And we need to update people on where we are, that this is important and it's part of the work in TC54 ECMA standardization, so it will happen regardless. Talk about the various components, the discovery, the API, collections, authorization, and authentication. So I just sketched a little bit from what I remembered from last time we met, that we could have an intro, an overview of T, the business bullshit section. I can handle that. Pavel could speak about the API. I know Jotam, you had some ideas as well. I didn't write them down, but we still have time to do that. And we also discussed having someone from the dependency track joining us as well.
Did you get confirmation from Nicholas on that?
I haven't checked. I'm just back from holidays. I'll start doing that. But it's in the idea section right now. So I wrote 2 times possible dates for this. I don't know if these are good or if there's US holidays or other holidays we should be aware of, religious or otherwise. But in Sweden, these are not any public holidays or bank holidays. Do you have any objection on the dates?
Well, I think September is better. So August is still a holiday season. In September, kids are in school, at least in the northern hemisphere.
For me personally, August is better. September, I'll be on the move, but I mean, still doable.
I mean, I remember this being a distributor of software that Americans were crazy with the Europeans, because in Sweden we start vacation in June, and in Spain they end in September. So several months they couldn't have any distributor meetings because people objected.
Real
By the
simple.
way,
In the United States, we don't get any vacations, so it's real simple for us.
That's really simple, but every state had public holidays spread everywhere. I mean, I worked in northern Massachusetts, and Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, all of them, Maine, all of them are different holidays. So it was a mess anyway.
Ole, I have a question, Dimitri. Is there any presence during Esbamorama of the project?
We haven't discussed that.
Because the Esbamorama is 11 and 12 of September, and it sounds to me like, I mean, there will be a lot of talks on the first day. There will be a lot of, ESBM related discussion, talks, presentations from the CISA working groups.
Yep.
So I think it would be wonderful to, to increase the awareness of what's been done here.
Where is that? Was it Denver?
It's September 11. It's in person and virtual, and it's gonna be in person in Denver, Colorado, in US.
Yeah.
But Alan Friedman is running the show there.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a way to reach
out. Anthony Harrison from UK that can't participate in the meetings but have contributed a bit to this and talked about T and Koala in Lisbon. I think he's going there.
He's going there. Okay, so he can.
So maybe I can ask him. I don't know. Are you going, Steve?
I plan to go, yes. But I'm not presenting anything. There was an opportunity to present dependency track, but we actually turned it. I mean, we didn't actually do it because it's honestly it's the standard at which all others are kind of judged anyway. So yeah, you know, I'm going to be there basically for support for the community, answer questions, you know, that sort of thing.
Maybe we should try to set up a meeting with Alan, you and I, Steve, and just inform him about what we're doing. I don't think he has seen it enough.
He's been informed. I don't know if he's been. There's a lot of
Okay.
things, obviously.
Message sent, but we don't know if it's received.
Right, right.
I want to inform you also about something that going on in this CISA Tiger groups. So there is a group that called kind of Isaac sharing of SBOMs basically and Vexes. And I'm on that group. It's run by Chris Blask and Phil Englert, who's the head of security practice of Health Isaac.
Okay.
And I think it's very applicable to connect with this group, with this Tiger group, and present it there. Because again, I'm a great believer of what's been done here, and I'm definitely intending to support it as part of our SBOM management platform.
We should definitely invite them to our bigger meeting, but we can also participate. On the next topic, which is related, I reached out, as Gary said, to SPDX, and we're going to plan some short presentation on an SPDX community meeting. I didn't write that down here. And if anyone wants to join me, just let me know. I also reached out based on some feedback from Steve on the digital signature part to the SCIT working group in ITF, which I've been following for a long time. And we're going to set something up there as well, where we can explain to each other what we're doing and how it's related. I don't think we're related, but some people think we're stepping on toes. But we're having a good discussion on the mailing list, and we'll see what happens there. Welcome back, Jota.
Thanks.
But the other working group, we can discuss that. Dimitri, are you on the Slack channel or?
So, sorry, on which Slack channel?
On the Slack channel for this Transparency Exchange API on CycloneDX.
I don't think I'm there. If I can get an invite, I can write my email here and maybe you can invite me. So I'll happy to join.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll take care of that. Now I see the chat. There. Okay, you were already added. Great. So we have a couple of other groups to contact, and things are going on. Do we need to discuss anything more if people want to help me with that? Yeah, I'm open. Pavel already said you're gonna participate in the skit. I'm gonna inform everyone on the Slack channel when we have a meeting. Okay, I don't see a long line of volunteers showing up, so I'll continue. We have some administration work to do, but it's nothing urgent, but I keep it in the agenda so we know about it. These are things that we gathered in the last meeting that we have to do. We need to make a reservation of some schemas and namespaces, and I'm going to start looking to that. I had a brief conversation with the IETF guys before the holidays, and I don't see any big problem on that. Okay, now to the real cool stuff, APIs and everything. We have a couple of newcomers here. How much have you read of our current documentation and seen pictures and cool slides?
Just about 30 minutes worth, not much. Sorry.
Okay. So I can.
They told us that when we work from home, we'd have a better work-life balance. I'm still trying to fit in CycloneDX in every spare hour I have. Taking a little while though.
Well, we're happy to steal any available time.
What is this balance that you speak of? This no.
Sometimes I get confused and start talking to my wife about application security. She doesn't like it.
So what we've done so far is to agree on some sort of general overview where we haven't discussed much, but we have a document that describes a discovery idea called the Transparency Exchange Identifier. This uses DNS, and this is one identifier per product, right? Sold product. And it can be many things. It's up to the vendor, really. It's based on a DNS domain. And then the vendor can use UIDs or EN barcodes or other identifiers. And we'll have to capture that as we move along here and create subclasses for them. But that discovery will lead to a manufacturer website and an index for a product. The index isn't a document. We agreed on that. It has to be programmatic, but it's a way to discover all active versions for a product. And that's where we can add a bit of lifecycle enumeration. From the index, we go to a collection, and that's actually a file that is, in my world, my head, a signed file that lists all the various artifacts that belong to that version of a particular software. And that could be SBOM files of any given format, VEX attestations, EU certificate of compliance, many different things, right? In toto attestations could be in toto embedded in CycloneDX or other formats. During the work, which I didn't have in the slide, and I can't spell this summer, we discovered that for some products, we have combination of things. Like I added a pointer on the website, a Philips Hue start package, which had a base controller and a couple of lamps and a switch. All of these are separate products, right? But the package is one product. So we discussed adding some sort of bundle definition that could point to multiple collections. Then we have the various files. And we also need to be aware of that a single file here could actually apply to multiple collections. And that's something we need to keep in mind as well.
I'm not sure if we need to keep that in mind. I think for the implementation, implementers certainly need to keep that in mind.
I think I was about to break that with signatures, but so okay. I need to keep it in mind. Okay. But definitely implementations, yeah.
So absolutely. Are we bundling subsystems? Are we bundling versions? Are we bundling versions of subsystems? What's being grouped together here?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Chris. Very good, well phrased and elegant.
Right.
But
Ollie will be running for political office now with a state response like that.
I realized that problem when I started this picture just before the meeting, because I thought we need to discuss this. And I had questions like, can a bundle point to a TI from another vendor on another website? Possibly if we bundle external products. So we need to figure out the bundle. We haven't written anything about it. We just realized that we need something that is a combination of multiple products.
It makes sense to me because, again, I'm always looking at things from a medical device domain specifically. We have what's called a UDI, Universal Device Identifier, that's a barcode on every medical device. And so we can identify the manufacturer and the model of the device from that UDI. We can't pull out versions, however, and of course it's transitory, it's ephemeral. So you know, the barcode wouldn't, unless it's digital, wouldn't work. So for me, that works great because if I used a UDI to identify it, it goes out, pulls it and says, here is all 23 of the versions for that ventilator. All right. And you're just going to ingest all of them. And then you're going to figure out, good luck to the implementer to figure out which one is actually the one you need. That works.
Yep.
So let me just clarify the UDI. So you know the product, but you don't know the version. So every different version will have the same UDI essentially.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same for TEI. That the let's see if I have that here. Because I mean, you buy something and then you upgrade it. So the TI, which is a QR code or a barcode, can't have a version because you could have changed that, right?
Yep.
And in the EU now with the CRA, we can't sell products with vulnerabilities in them. We have to take them out of the market, which will mean that we have music started here. Give me a minute. I need to find which device.
We don't have that.
I think only you can hear it.
Yeah, only I could hear it, but it was noisy here, radio in my headset, but I turned it off. Anyway, so the identifier here, the TI, can't have version, but I see that you can have, like in URLs, query sign and other things. So if you know the version, we can send that through discovery and actually in the index hit the right spot at the right time. So we need to document that as well.
So for me to so the user path for TI, the user knows essentially the product or component, and then they need some other information from the vendor for the version, right? That's how they're gonna identify it.
Yeah,
like
they
that's
need to
the only
figure
way.
out the versions somehow.
Okay, so TI is not exhaustive in that sense.
But I think, and I realized that this summer that you could potentially, I don't remember the exact syntax, create something like that. I don't take the syntax verbatim, but you could potentially add that. So if I have a mobile app or an app with a graphical user interface, we could actually that knows its own version. We could actually create a TI with a version string.
If you have that, which is going to be a small subset of our target audience. So I mean, yeah, I wish everything had a high definition LCD that I could do a 2D barcode on and, you know, give everything I need, but the reality is they don't.
Yeah, that's the reality. I don't know how many product meetings I've been in where I asked for a very small e-paper or LCD screen with lousy, just ability to create a QR code, but nah.
I guess since I brought up UDI, I should point out that that is unique to the FDA in the United States, each other country. So when they say universal device identifier, it really means universal to the United States, you know, because we're a little centric about our universal. The rest of the world has done their own thing, and none of them are harmonized, and they all call them UDIs. So just saying.
It's like the NBA champion is the world champion in basketball. Kind of
exactly.
The same. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'd almost have to do like a locale specific thing, like you know, FR-CA, for example, versus FR-FR. I mean, UDI-US.
Exactly.
UDI-EU, whatever.
Yeah. And they're radically different. Radically different. I mean, some of them are huge. China's got one that I think they're trying to represent novels or something in a 2D barcode. It's like, why you've got that much content in a 2D barcode? It's insane. So yeah, they're all massively different. But at the heart of them, I believe, don't hold me to this, but I believe all of them do have manufacturer and model inclusive in them. So
if you have a single UDI and you don't know what country it originated from, can you derive it? Or do you really need to know what locale it's from?
I've never seen that done. So I think that would be challenging. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it would be challenging. I've never seen anything that would say, I'm going to read all of these from all the UDIs from everywhere. I've never seen that done. So I don't know. I don't know. You would have to see if there's some sort of unique. They don't start off by self-identifying, if that's what you mean. They don't do that. But is there some format uniqueness that you could use to derive that? Possibly. But they don't start off by saying, hi, I'm US, and hi, I'm EU. And no, they don't.
But using that in the TEI, there will always be some sort of DNS name here that leads us to the right place. And the UDI is the product identifier within that domain.
I think theoretically you could have multiple UDIs in different jurisdictions though, right? Is that possible, Chris?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So really what you need is you need a lookup table that says, here's a UDI and this points to this manufacturer.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. We're probably have to go back to the different TI types, but I need to write some base documentation on it, not just slideware. We do have in here, we have a document on discovery and the URN. I don't have UDI here, but we can surely easily add that. But please read this and we'll discuss it in a coming meeting. Okay?
Cool. And I really think, I mean, this is, Steve knows, this is, coming from medical, this is called the Tim Walsh problem.
Oh yeah, I know.
and it's one thing I'm always pounding on, because of it has to be automated. It has to be able to work to scale. If you're onboarding 1,000 devices, physical devices in your organization, you're not going to be able to look up the version number on each one of them. You've got to have something automated. And I don't know what that looks like, but at least we can get manufacturer and model fairly easily, but that version really needs to be automated too.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't been on SBOM forum meetings, Tim Walsh works on a large private hospital chain in the US. And he keeps saying that, well, I'm sitting here with all these medical devices in my device inventory system and all these SBOMs, and I can't connect them because there's no way I can connect them. I can't automatically download SBOM. So he has all these SBOMs just stored in a file system and have no idea, no method to use it.
Right.
And T is part of the solution, not the full solution.
Yeah, and then it only gets worse with companies like Lockheed, where they have millions of these. I mean, Tim, we think in terms of Tim's having thousands and tens of thousands at Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
But millions. It's like, okay, this really doesn't scale.
Yeah, I know a truck manufacturer here in the Stockholm area that have the same issue.
Mhm.
So, okay, the T-index API, we discussed that a bit before, and I know, Pavel, you made some proposals on JSON structures. I took down some notes and I probably added a few bits and pieces here. We took a note that authorization can be done on multiple levels. That's an implementation guidance that when you have a server here, you not only give access to all versions of a product, but you probably want to check which versions the customer actually has in some cases. We made a note of composite products, the T bundle, and we need to define that as well. And we discussed the T index, and we resolved that this is not a file in a file system. It's a programmatic API that needs CPU resources. We couldn't find any other way. So in the index object, we have a T index UID. We have identifiers of the product, a version tag for this. We have metadata where we had the CLE, and we discussed adding key value tags kind of in an open format. But that's always hard. We need to define whether we want to be strict or allow open vendor extensions that usually end up with vendors doing a lot of stuff that hurt interoperability instead of working through the standardization organs and adding stuff that is interoperable. So we need to make a decision about that. We also discussed HTTP compression, content negotiation, and pagination support for this. But this is the base index, the first thing you actually get when you reach the web server.
Do we have a mock-up of what that could theoretically look like?
In JSON?
Yeah.
Don't think so. We're going to look at Pavel's OpenAPI spec. That needs to be an object in the OpenAPI spec at some point.
Right.
Which is close to a
Yeah,
mock-up.
I mean, I can share this, and you can, or I don't know if you had time after vacation to look at it or not yet.
I had a brief amount of time, and it's on the agenda, so I'm trying to rush ahead.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great.
I would like to move that to our shared repository.
I think the kind of big for me question was from Chris regarding like the vendor thing. And what Steve mentioned today as well is like cross vendor issues that I'm not clear about. Like, let's say if bundle has component from some different vendor, do we try to create like to recreate this component in our own representation and not the vendor as a field, like noting that it comes from a third party? Or is there any other way?
I think from a platform specific way, as the API client, in this case, I would like to get an external URL and access that, because I may not have authorization for it. But that's on a case by case. I think we need to support both ways, really.
But what do you mean by no authorization? So the use case, if we already use in our product some third party vendor, So if you have, and actually there was, for authorization, there was another thing. I mean, I don't know if it's a good time, but this is what I was thinking. So let's say you have like a bundle that depends on several components.
Mm.
So you can't really give authorization to bundle, but not give authorization
when
to
you
a component.
when you say component, what is a component? Bundle points to collections.
Like I can, no, I mean, I can describe in software terms. Let's say you have like a project written on Node.js, right?
Yeah, but you're further down then you're inside SBOM when you're talking about components. We're still outside of the SBOM.
Yeah, like a bundle might be, for example, a physical device that ships with maybe QNX for a runtime operating system, and then you've got, you know, your first party applications that you've built, you know, running on top of that thing.
Okay, that's
or the Philips Hue box that I added to the chat.
Right.
You buy a single product, a single box in the store contains multiple physical devices, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. My point is, if you give somebody authorization to read bundle, that, like, to me, that automatically implies that the same person would have authorization on every part of this bundle.
Oh yeah, but the interesting part is if I create a box and I include in the box a product from Piotr's fantastic company, right? I buy a gadget from Piotr, I OEM it, place it in my box together with my stuff.
Yes.
Right? Then my bundle could, in theory, point to Piotr's website for information about his product. I don't know legally in the CRA I'm responsible because I'm selling it anyway, but
well, the BOM
the
formats
bundle,
themselves also support that concept, right? Cyclone supports it, SPDX supports it.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, theoretically, we could do that with the BOM formats themselves.
Yeah, if it's a bomb, but if it's another artifact, then we can't.
Well,
we have to go inside and outside of bomb space here.
Right.
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 Because we could have in total attestations and other things. But we definitely need to define bundle better. We haven't got the definition, so
yeah.
If no one else starts a pull request, I'll try to get that.
Yeah, maybe we just take some of your ideas here, and maybe during the next call, we just actually go through them and see if they are going to meet all the use cases that we've kind of already documented.
Yep.
Right. And identify the gaps.
Take a look at this pull request for the collection object. It's rather simple, but it's kind of a file directory. I know Piotr and I had a discussion about types of files, whether to use media types or if you wanted their own enumeration. And I created a separate ticket on that in the repository here as well. So we remember to capture that discussion and resolve it. Okay, so homework, go through those documents.
Can I ask you, back on previous screen here, you had the common life enumeration. And that's the CLE of what? Of the product, of each of the subsystems, of the components, of what are we talking about there?
Well, in the T index, you have a single product. So that's for a version of a product. Maybe that belongs in the collection then.
It definitely would, because you're going to have versions. I mean, if you start putting versions in collections.
Well, the the CLE actually is not specific to a given product. At least that's the way it's designed. So it can be applicable to multiple versions of something, because you're talking about the life cycle of a product, not a specific version of a product.
Okay, that's why we have it in the index.
Right.
Here.
So like, as products mature, as they change names, as they change versioning, you know, the way they, you know, do version numbers, as you know, M&As happen, or, you know, marketing on a Friday decides to change the name from X to Y, or obviously all the life cycle events, you know, end of life and the support, end of guaranteed support, etc. All those types of events are going to be captured across the product life cycle, not a specific version.
Yeah.
I've got an interesting article that I wrote a few months ago on end of. There's a lot of end ofs.
Oh yeah.
End of manufacturing, end of sales, end of guaranteed support, end of support, and they in some cases have standards like ISO and stuff behind them, IMDRF, all sorts of different standards, consensus and regulatory standards behind them. I'll send you the link to the article, and it might be useful for adding some of those.
Please add it to the Slack chat. But as I'm working a lot with the CRA, there's going to be an end of CRA responsibilities as well that doesn't really map to anything of that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. We're running a bit short of time, so I won't go into the discussion about digital signatures. We'll postpone that to another meeting. But I have written a pull request. Please read it and make comments. But let's look at the Open API spec. Do you want to share screen, Pavel, on that?
Okay, sure. 1 second.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so that's currently checked into our repository that I posted somewhere in the Slack channel. But I can like
I have it in the meeting notes here as well.
Yeah. I mean, whenever we're sort of happy or you think it should be done, I can make a pull request to the base repository.
Yeah.
So the thing here is a lot of things would depend on definitions, and I actually was looking into this meeting also to get into a few things. So essentially, to me, the T probably, so essentially I treat product as a bundle. So when vendor supplies a T index, like to me, that should match to bundle ID. That's how I see the user path here. If you
so you see everything as a bundle, even if it's only one product.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible. No, alternative is to see it as a component, which is essentially a vendor decision. If your product is so small, like it's some, I don't know, tiny library that doesn't depend on anything pretty much, then you can treat it as a single component as well. However, to me, for like to make it more universal, I would bring them to a bundle here. Probably that, like, that's one thing I wanted to do. Like the user path wise, I think they should come either into bundle ID releases, so see right away all releases for this bundle, or potentially we have this notion of feature set, which are like branches, but for bundles.
But
So
for releases, we needed pagination, we agreed on as well.
correct. Yes. Yes. Which is not here, by the way, yet.
No.
But
No,
yeah,
no,
but
it's a starting point.
yeah, but potentially, yeah, for sure, we expect like mania of releases, and so to me, I mean, I'm actually trying to brainstorm a little bit, but what I'm getting like from today, when the user goes from the T index to this T website, they essentially get to this page, which is a list of releases per bundle.
Yeah.
And
So
from there, yeah.
Bundle will be something recognized as a product by sales and marketing, and component is a product from the perspective of engineering. Yes.
Right.
Well,
That's
So
my
if you sell
understanding.
it, it's a bundle. If it's just a component, if you don't sell it separately, it's a component.
Yeah,
That's how I understand it.
We need to agree on terminology, because you have different terminology here than what we have in the other documents, but we can sort that out. But
Yeah,
if bundle
so
is the T index, where is the collection then? That's the directory for a specific product. Because I take it component is one document that we have, an SBOM, in total attestation or something else.
no, they like this lies in releases and artifacts. So the way how this is done here is so essentially bombs and attachments are properties of artifacts.
Yeah. Okay, I'll call that something else, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I need so the relationship goes like this. It goes from bundle to bundle release. So
the release is the collection.
Release as a product is like when when what Chris was saying, when you
a specific version of a product, and that's what we call a collection.
Yeah. Okay. So we can, yeah, again, we need to agree on terms here. I was using sort of what I understood, but you can, I mean, you can normalize it and then I can adjust this accordingly. But release is essentially the box that you buy in a store, or like set of boxes. So the SKU that would be released to me of a bundle. And then bundle release in itself, it has, I don't know if I have it here actually. Yeah, it has upstream components. So this upstream components for bundle, they would be essentially component releases. So what's included in this bundle? And from there, for each release, you have a list of artifacts per this release.
Yep.
And so again, artifact per release, for me, it's something tangible. So in software world, this can be, for one release, this can be, for example, a jar file and a Docker image for the same thing. Like to me, that would be two artifacts for the same release, possibly. Or like, let's say Debian package. And then each release has like bombs and attachments that what we discussed with Steve last time. So attachments can be this like attestation, VDR packs, possibly other things. And different bombs. So all this would be on the artifact level. However, I mean, we can possibly also have it on the release level. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not. Like to me, they should be sort of aggregate on the release level in this case, if needed.
Yep.
So maybe we don't need to sort of mandate it on the like on the API spec, because
So what you've done in the, just to keep everyone in the loop, in the meeting notes you had a URL for the basic OpenAPI spec. OpenAPI was called Swagger before. It's
Right.
now a standard extension. And there are many different tools to create user interfaces like the one Pavel is showing here. But that's not what you're going to see. If you follow the URL, you only see the stuff on the left-hand side. But the cool thing with OpenAPI is that there's a lot of code generators, document generators, test generators, other things. So if we have OpenAPI as the core specification of our API, it will be easy for tool vendors to develop and test what they're doing and see how compliant they are. I really like this work, but we do have to agree on object models. I don't know how we get further, because now we have two different object models, which I like, because then we have room for discussion. But one in the documents we have contributed, and with very similar, but with some other names. Maybe we should have an interim meeting where we can discuss and come up with a shared proposal. We can possibly agree on that in Slack. We're getting close to the hour. Are people running out of time? Should we finish up the official meeting and then hang around for those that have time?
Yeah, let's wrap up the official meeting so we can get that recording stopped and published on YouTube.
Yeah. So thank you, Pavel, for that. This is huge progress, what you've done here, a lot of work. Thank you.
Thank you.
We just need to get it into one shared picture, but I really like this. Do you have any other issues to discuss before we close? No? Okay.
Nope, not for me.
Then we're gonna close the recording, and then people who want to hang around, let's stay and hang around. Thank you for this time. See you in a couple of weeks, and follow the Slack channel where we can create ad hoc interim meetings to discuss technical issues. And please review what's in the GitHub repository. Thank you.